then you look in the mirror and you're just like, I'm not good enough. Why do I think I can go out there and do this? And you know that it's all in your head, but it still is the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing to clear out of your mind. So I'm going to start with you, Michelle. Share a moment with us when you felt like you didn't belong and you actually questioned your success and even possibly saw others.
Yeah, I would definitely say that career I was just telling you all about, it was a commercial MLS at that. It's not just a commercial association, and then trying to learn the tech side and learn the MLS side. And I'll tell a quick story. When I first started, I got a call from one of the board members, and I knew I wanted to meet them all, and he says, hey, can you meet for coffee before the first board meeting? I said, of course, I'd love to meet you. You want to come to the office? He said, no, let's meet at Starbucks. I'm like, in Seattle, Starbucks. He's like, okay, so we go to Starbucks, and he pulls out this piece of paper, and he gives me the sheet, and he says, I want you to have this. Well, first, let me stop. I was shocked because it was a black man, and that board had one person of color and one woman, and then me. And so I already knew that, but I didn't know that. So when I saw him, I was already like, oh my God, it's two of us. So he hands me the sheet of paper, and he's like, I want you to know, these are the individuals who don't want you to be the CEO. And these are the individuals who are probably your advocates. And these are the ones that are like, eh. And I'm giving you this because I want you to know what you're walking into. And so I took that piece of paper, and of course it's jolting. It wasn't shocking, but it was jolting. And I folded it up, and I put it into my notebook. I stapled it shut, and I never opened it again until I was at CAR, and I was talking to someone, saying, let me show you something. But what I ended up doing from that was a few things. I said, I'm gonna go, I memorized who people were. If you remember, we don't like people. I said, I'm gonna go meet with all these people individually. I'm gonna go, just not butter them up, but give them meat and see where they are. But I definitely walked in with doubt. These are like the head of CBRE, the head of college, the head of like Cushman and Wakefield. Not to say yes, actually to say yes. So you're up here, and you're walking in the door, and it's like this ivory castle, and literally CBRE is like an ivory castle. And they're just like, who's that? Because you stick out. So I would definitely feel it at every one of those meetings that I went to. I was in there, I was doubting, I was remembering they didn't even want me in there. I was remembering, I don't even know what they do really. I don't know what MLS is, that's not got houses on it. Like, I don't know what this is. And then I'm also thinking, and I know they don't want me here either. But you have to remember the purpose and the goal. And I had a colleague, a friend, a mentor, if you all watch, I have a podcast called Text the Table. Sean Boyne said to me, you have to remember they hired you because they want you to be there. So every time I sat in front of one of those men in that ivory castle who was on that sheet of paper, I had to remember there were 6 people on that search committee that wanted me to be here. And that was their boys. So I'm good. But it definitely always crept in. It was probably a good year plus 2, 3 before that started to subside. Because it's all in paper. It's in the back of your head.
It's always in the back of your mind. That's a beautiful story. Thank you. Sarah, how about you?
So I can't point to one because there are many, but I think there's a continuing theme of something around. So in my business, I came from commercial when I was in corporate, switched over to residential for years, and then started my business, and this, it's certified as a minority and women-owned business. So I work with JLL, CBRE, all that. And side note, we just had a deal that a broker didn't get paid because they didn't ask for their commission. So make sure you ask for your commission. Anyway, just dealing with them, there's no one who ever looks like me. I am used to that. This is what it is. But so I would, I'd show, I'd be on deals, 15,000 square foot deals for government entities, showing space. It's always a broker on the other side. I remember I was with the clients and talking to them, and we were waiting for him. He was like, yeah, I'm just waiting for the broker to show up. It's me. And then what they do is they try to pull you off a deal because the commissions are really, they're large. And they're like, hey, so how'd you get into this? And we have to realize we all have the same license. I actually have a broker license. They're usually not even as high as from a licensing standpoint, but they're always trying to figure out, try to undercut your qualifications to say, oh, she's here because of this. So I could care less, cut me my check, I'm good. So now, like the city of Chicago, I know them very well, that's one of my top clients. I'll go on meetings, they'll be like, oh, but it's, because one meeting I think CBRE went, and I have a great relationship with them. I actually used to work for a firm that they bought. But I went to a meeting in the city, they had a meeting, and I was not there. They didn't tell me about the meeting because I guess they felt that I wasn't needed. So they canceled me, like, oh, well, we need Sarah to come to a meeting. Because they're usually asking questions because they are fascinated about the MLS, how do we do that? And so that's, which is just an FYI, that's an entree into commercial because they don't have that database and they need that to do their commercial. But they canceled the meeting. It was like 8 people there. And then the city actually called to apologize, like we assumed you were coming to the meeting, and now, you know, they even offered me a job. You know, I said I can't do jobs. I don't do, you know, job's not my life. But that's good to know because if I ever needed some recommendation or other deals, then I could go to them. But that let them know that, hey, you know what, she's very valuable. JLL, Illinois Housing Development Authority, you know, Kristen, the CEO. So she saw me at a meeting. She goes, Sarah, I see what you're doing. And JLL is always like, how do you know her? I'm like, I know people. Like, you know, get out of me. So I just say that to say, never underestimate your network, your value, and what you do. People are always watching because you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. And that's okay. Let them watch. Let them look. Let them take notes. Let them write it down. Send an envelope, whatever it is. But know your worth because as soon as you kind of sink back, they'll let you sink back and fall back. And sometimes we mistake nervousness for imposter syndrome. And so I was telling somebody about that. And it was like, well, nervousness, like it's okay to be nervous because nervousness sometimes it lets you think, lets you know that you respect your audience and you're prepared and you respect who you're delivering your presentation, whether that be a one-on-one meeting, a presentation like this, but always kind of have that frame of mind. And don't get the two mixed up because it's, you know, imposter syndrome makes you better, yes, but it's okay to be nervous, but don't get the two mixed up because know that you are to be there wherever you are and know that what's in store for you. And then the leadership into, you know, NAR and all this, that's a whole nother story about that because, you know, I don't want to say things because the views of Women's Council may not be expressed up here by us. So I don't want to like say stories that they may put 2 and 2 together and then, you know, we can talk after at the libations after.
I didn't hear one moment she had imposter syndrome and all that.
I'm with my people,
You're supposed to tell when you felt it at least one time, Sarah.
I feel it all the time.
Okay. Kim, you go on and tell them then.
I'm gonna have enough imposter syndrome for all 4 of us. Well, one thing, obviously I shared so much of my story earlier. There is something that you raised, Sarah, that I thought was a really interesting point, and I've sort of processed this from imposter syndrome. When I was at Us Weekly, leading the team, like definitely an executive, you know, everybody knew who's on what level and who's the peer, it's fine. I had a meeting with a vendor, so they were on the back end of some technology we were working on. I had prepared this 3-page document with feedback on what's working and what's not working. I mean, I spent a lot of time on this document. And I go to this meeting, and we go through it, me and him, and he says, what is your role here? And I was like, I'm the boss. But I realized that I don't know why he said it or didn't, but actually, maybe it's on me to let people know who I am, what I've done, and how I can help them. And I think it plays both ways in my mind. Like, who did he think I was? Did he think I was like an assistant? Or just he didn't know and I didn't introduce myself? But I think of it like this. Humility doesn't pay the bills. And I work in a field, oh yeah, I'll take a thought, yeah, okay. It is a quote I have put on social media that I wrote, so yes, you can clap for that. And I think why it's important is that we all know the things that we have done, that we have worked for, that we are proud of. We do know that. And it is normal that in common conversation we might not be like, hey Tammy, I'm Kim, a 6-time award-winning marketer with experience at Netflix and the head of Us Weekly, because it sounds totally obnoxious. However, when you're in a room with people who don't know you, and actually you can help them, it actually does help all of us to give them those data points. And my background is journalism. And I would have people pitch me to be on TV when I was a TV news reporter. And someone would come over and they would tell me their idea, and I'd be like, okay, that's fine. And then at the very end, they'd be like, yeah, and I have a PhD from Harvard. And I was like, wow, you should have led with that. Just in terms of who you are, what you've done, credibility, experience. And sometimes we just have to think, no one knows who we are if we walk into a room. And sometimes it's not braggy to just let people know who you are and what you've done. And in fact, it can help them. Maybe they're like, wow, Elizabeth, she's perfect fit for this, and instead of thinking, oh, I'm being obnoxious or braggy, you're actually helping them make a better decision, make a better partnership. And so I had that moment where I thought about that. I mean, sometimes I bring my mom somewhere and she'll be like, this is my daughter. She runs her business and she speaks on stages across the country. She's basically my pro bono publicist. But most of us don't have mom with us, bragging about us, behind us. And so it is on us to let people know that. So humility doesn't pay the bills.